In 1881, John was walking the streets of New York when he noticed a mysterious man following him. He tried his best to sneak away and shake off the follower. Later, he stopped at a store to send a telegram, choosing the express option because it was urgent. Sometime afterward, Edgar received the telegram from his uncle, asking him to hurry and save him. After catching a train, Edgar arrived at John's house and met with a lawyer who explained that John had died unexpectedly and left everything to Edgar. The lawyer added that John's body had been placed inside a crypt that could only be opened from the inside. There was also an old diary that John had left under strict instructions that only John himself was allowed to read it. After the lawyer left, Edgar began to read the story that started 13 years earlier. Following the Civil War in Arizona, John was a distinguished ex-captain of the Confederate Army who was searching for gold. Although he had not found much yet, the local waiter had already cut him off for not paying his debts, and the tavern patrons tried to throw him out. John immediately fought them off and knocked them out before pointing his gun at the waiter. At that moment, a group of soldiers arrived to arrest him. John tried to resist but was knocked out and later woke up for an interrogation. Upon awakening, he found himself in front of Colonel Powell. John continued to try to start a fight and did not stop until he was thrown into a cell. Powell wanted John to join their fight against the Apaches, but John had had enough and refused to fight anymore. Powell responded by knocking him out again. John spent a few hours dreaming of his dead family. When he woke, he urinated in the cell to get the guard's attention. When the guard approached, John knocked him out and stole his keys. Then, John escaped, riding Powell's horse. Soon, the cavalry was after him, only to find John talking to a mounted Apache war party. Both sides were armed and suspicious, and a shootout in different languages began, triggering a fight. John used the opportunity to flee, but Powell was wounded, and John decided to help him. The duo escaped to a canyon and discovered a small cave. The Apaches pursuing them stopped when they saw a symbol on a rock above the cave, then fled. Curious, John approached the symbol and discovered the spider emblem he had been seeing during his search for gold. Leaving Powell behind, John ventured deeper into the cave and discovered a room with strange symbols and gold-covered walls. Suddenly, a thorn appeared behind him and attacked. After exchanging some blows, John grabbed his gun and shot the man who held a glowing medallion in his hand. The man died whispering some words, and John repeated them as he grabbed the medallion, which suddenly teleported him out of the cave. John found himself in the middle of a strange desert. He tried to get up, but walking was extremely difficult, requiring several attempts. It was shocking to see how his steps were almost floating. After throwing the medallion away in frustration, John began to move properly, discovering that his leaps now covered great distances. He did not know it yet, but he was on Mars, and the lower gravity allowed him to do these things. Then John reached the top of a hill and discovered a nest of eggs hatching green newborns with 6 limbs. At that moment, a swarm of Tharks approached, riding giant creatures and armed with weapons. Their leader, Tarkus, found the medallion and attacked John while the others opened fire. But John escaped with a great leap. Impressed with his skills, Tarkus ordered the shooting to stop and approached John again, this time showing that he came in peace. They tried to communicate, but the language barrier led Tarkus to think that John's name was Virginia, his hometown. Tarkus wanted to see John leap again, but John responded by trying to steal Tarkus's weapons. However, the Tharks quickly counterattacked and captured him, taking him to their tribe along with the babies. Meanwhile, in Helium, Princess Deja was preparing a speech about her latest invention when she was suddenly interrupted by her father, King Tardos, and his council, who were discussing the latest attacks from Zodanga using some new shiny weapon. Deja intervened and explained that she had made a device that could harvest that blue light, which she called Nona Light. She tried to demonstrate how it worked when a council member touched her, and secretly gave it a jolt to break it, making it seem that Deja had failed. Tardos dismissed his council and informed Deja that the only way to stop the war was to marry Sabthon, which deeply distressed her. The king ignored her pleas and ordered his people to start arranging the wedding. While outside, the council member who broke the machine revealed his true face. He was a Thorn, spying using his shape-shifting powers. Back to John, he watched the Tharks in the city with fascination, especially as they started fighting over the babies. Tarkus ordered them to let a girl named Sola have a baby for herself, while Hajus tried to kill John. Tarkus immediately pushed Hajus away because he did not have anyone's support. Tarkus then asked John to jump, but John still refused to cooperate and was sent to a cave with the babies where he was chained. Sola visited John and shared a special drink that made John understand her language before he passed out. John woke up again in the middle of the night and was terrified to see Woola, a dog-like alien who quickly became his friend. Then John fought against the chains and managed to break free, but Woola followed him. No matter how far John went, Woola appeared instantly at his side in seconds. Desperate to find the medallion, John followed some noises and found a Thark party, which Woola interrupted. The Tharks began to attack it, so John leapt to help stop them, accidentally killing a Thark and proving his jumping ability. The Tharks immediately took him down, and when John demonstrated understanding of their language, everyone realized that Sola had been interfering. In the morning, John was tied to a rock and had to watch as Sola was marked for her mistake once again. Tarkus announced that next time she would be killed because her skin had no room for more marks. This made John think of his relationship with his own family. Suddenly, the Tharks noticed battleships fighting in the sky and rushed to seek shelter to watch the battle safely. Sabthon used his powers to attack the enemy ship and board it, but Deja disguised herself as a soldier and tried to divert the ship. Unfortunately, the ship was hit and lost control, causing Deja to almost fall and cling to the edge. John saw her, and believing she was human, used a long jump to save her. As the ships landed, John told Deja to let him fight, but she revealed that she was also a warrior, and together they fought in sync against soldiers from both armies. John leapt onto one of the ships and used the cannon to shoot at other enemies, making them collide. Then Sabthon came after John, and they engaged in a furious fight that Sabthon quickly won. When he was about to kill John, the Tharks began shooting at the ships, allowing John to leap away as the last ships fled. After this, the Tharks accepted John as their warrior and considered him their right-hand man, which made Hajus furious. John wanted to refuse because he did not want to fight, but Tarkus threatened Deja, and John was forced to accept the honor. Then the Tharks went to loot the fallen ships while Deja demonstrated curiosity about John's ability. She wanted him to teach her his skill, but he reminded her that it was not for sale. When Deja suddenly mentioned the lack of seas on this planet, she and John exchanged their knowledge, and John finally realized he was on Mars. Deja was unsure if she believed him, and John explained that he had been brought there by the medallion, making Deja think he might be a thorn. Seeking answers, Deja took John to the temple of the goddess, ignoring Sola's warning that it was forbidden to enter. Deja examined some symbols that spoke of a gate and promised to take John there so he could return to Earth as payment for saving her. Unfortunately, they were interrupted by Tarkus and his men, who arrested them for breaking the rules. Tarkus was furious with John for putting Sola in trouble because she would die. John finally realized that Sola was Tarkus's daughter. Tarkus punched him for this and explained that the Tharks had no concept of personal children before taking the trio to his tent, pretending that he would punish them. However, Tarkus returned the medallion and told them to flee. When Haju started to get suspicious and entered the tent, the trio had already left, and Tarkus was accused of treachery. The group began to walk across Mars with Woola following them. John was shocked to see how much damage Sabathon had caused. They had to cross furious sandstorms and hide from the warships. Some days later, Sola realized that Deja was not taking them to the gate. When confronted, Deja revealed she was taking them to Helium so they could help her people, angering John and causing him to decide to leave her behind. Pleading and begging, Deja fell to her knees and explained that she was a princess who did not want to lose her freedom to the enemy. She also admitted that the gate did not exist. John took Deja back, though he still believed the cave that had brought him here was real. Meanwhile, Shang received news about Deja's whereabouts and began organizing a plan to pursue her. Shortly after, the trio reached a pilgrimage river, where people who had sinned cast objects into the waters in hopes of reaching paradise. Sola wished to join them, but John immediately stopped her, telling her that to honor her father, she must fulfill her duty and help him instead. The trio boarded a boat and drifted down the river, leaving Woola behind. Eventually, they discovered a strange structure unlike anything Deja had ever seen. John leapt to the top, and the medallion began to glow, activating the entire structure and revealing it to be composed of machines. A hole opened, and the duo entered. Deja used the medallion to activate a diagram of the solar system. The blue light was the Nona light she had been studying, shaped like the spider John had seen in the cave. They realized John's presence here was due to a replica of him being transmitted from Earth to Mars. Deja came to believe that Sabthan was receiving help from the Thorns and finally accepted that John was indeed from Earth. To continue her study, she needed to take John back to Helium, and to convince him, she kissed him, triggering memories of his deceased wife. At that moment, an army of Tharks arrived, with Shang disguised as one of them. John immediately grabbed Deja, and they jumped back into the boat to navigate and reunite with Woola. The Tharks began pursuing them, and John thought back to the moment he returned home to find his house destroyed and his family dead. Determined not to lose anyone else, he told Deja to flee while he stayed to fight, aided by Woola. A fierce battle ensued. Fueled by the tragedy of his family, John gained the upper hand, defeating warriors left and right. Just then, a warship from Helium arrived and ended the battle. Tardos reunited with his daughter, revealing he was with Sabthon, who pretended to come in peace and claimed to care only for the princess. To prove this, Sab Thon handed his sword to Deja, who almost used it to kill him but ultimately accepted the arranged marriage for the good of her people. As the ship carried everyone away, including John, it was revealed that Woola and Sola were hiding underground. Hours later, John woke up inside a room surrounded by Zodanga guards. One of Deja's soldiers visited him, asking John to pretend to be their hostage. John played along, and after taking down a few guards, they managed to escape. The soldier instructed him to jump into a specific tower, where they reached Deja's chamber. Once alone, Deja asked John to fight for her people, but he refused. So she returned the medallion and taught him the words needed to use it. John began repeating them, but guards suddenly entered the room. When Deja turned, John was gone. Assuming he had left, she departed. However, John was hidden in the ceiling. As John tried to escape through a corridor, he was stopped by Shang in disguise. Shang took John away in a carriage, revealing he knew much about Earth before changing into another disguise so they could watch the wedding procession together. Shang disclosed that Deja would die after the wedding. He explained that the Thorns were ancient immortal beings existing on many planets, including Earth, and that they always controlled history's course. Shang took John to a hangar, intending to fly him away, but Woola suddenly appeared and bit Shang, freeing John. John recovered the medallion, stole a light flyer, and began piloting it clumsily, nearly crashing multiple times. A guard chased him, but when John left the city, Sola took down the pursuer and John landed safely on the sand. John realized he could not save Deja alone and needed to return to the Tharks for help. Although Sola's people did not fly, John forced her to come with him. Upon arriving at the village, they were immediately captured because Hajus was now in charge. When thrown into a cell, they found Tardos imprisoned there as well. Tardos was furious to see Sola return but lacked the strength to kill John, having lost a recent battle in the Colosseum. Soon, John and Tardos were thrown into the Colosseum and forced to fight two giant white beasts. Unable to bear the massacre, Sola jumped in to aid her father. John, chained and unable to jump in, dodged the beast's blows until he broke free and used a stone to kill one of the creatures. Tardos threw John a sword, and when the second beast leapt at him, John quickly killed it, earning the crowd's respect. Afterward, John challenged Hajus, who tried to refuse, but the crowd reminded him of the rules. Hajus attacked, but John swiftly cut off his head. The crowd erupted in celebration. During his victory speech, John called for warriors to save the planet, and the crowd eagerly pledged to follow him into battle. As the wedding ceremony began, John led the Tharks to Zodanga, only to find the city empty. The wedding was taking place in Helium. Tardos slapped John for his mistake, pointing out they could not reach Helium in time and that the Tharks did not fly. Disappointed, John left alone in a light flyer and safely entered Helium, where the flyer disguised him as a local. Just as Deja was about to marry Sabthan, John burst through a window and interrupted the ceremony. Sabthan immediately sent a signal to call his army and escaped, dragging Deja with him. A fierce battle broke out between Zodangan and Helium forces in the streets and inside the temple. Deja struck Sabthan to force him to release her, and John saved her. Together, they joined the fight, and John confronted Sabthan in hand-to-hand combat. It seemed Sabthan was about to win, but suddenly a ship crashed into the temple, revealing that the Tharks had finally agreed to fly. With the combined forces of the Tharks and Helium, they began to dominate the Zodangans. John leapt onto Sabthan, ripped his arm off, and demanded information. However, the blue light returned to Sabthan's body and killed him before he could speak. The light then began affecting John as well. Nearby, Shang controlled the light while disguised as a Thark, but was interrupted by Deja's sword. Shang transformed into Deja to distract her, and when John approached, the false Deja pushed the real one away, who escaped through a window. Tardos found the medallion on the ground and picked it up. John tried to plead for it, but at that moment the real John appeared, and together they attacked the disguised Shang, who vanished. The battle ended, and everyone celebrated the newfound peace. Seeing that preparations were underway for a wedding anyway, John took his old wedding ring and asked Deja to marry him. She accepted, and the crowd rejoiced with a feast. After their wedding night, John went to the balcony to breathe fresh air and threw the medallion away, accepting his new identity as John of Mars. Suddenly, a guard revealed himself as Shang, who touched John and sent him back to Earth. John woke up in the cave many years later. Powell was already dead. He tried to use the words about the spider on the rock, but they no longer worked. In the present, Edgar finished reading the story. For years, John sought a new medallion to return to Mars. After much work, he found something in the Orkney, but knew the Thorns still followed him in disguise. He devised a plan. He pretended to be sick and took a special poison to make his body seem dead so he would be taken to the crypt, leaving special instructions only Edgar knew. Shocked and worried, Edgar rushed to the crypt and used the keywords from the telegram to open it, only to find it empty. At that moment, a thorn appeared behind him. Before it could attack, Edgar was shot and killed. John then emerged from hiding, explaining he had used Edgar as bait to catch the thorn. The rest of the plan remained the same. John took a thorn's medallion and asked Edgar to protect his body before entering the crypt and sealing it forever. Finally, John spoke the words that would return him to Mars. What did you think? Did the ending surprise you, or were you expecting it all along? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next movie breakdown. Want more? Check out our recap of similar movie right here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.